know what you want, push hard, push harder, even physically. If people get in your way, push them out of the way. So, very American mindset. So this experience totally blew my mind. And from that moment, as I kind of opened my eyes and looked around, even the color on the walls were different. Like I couldn't explain what happened, but I realized it was from just breathing. Mm-hmm. Now, from that moment, I thought, whatever that was, I want to give it to the world. Yeah. It was like just this clarity and moment. At that time, I didn't know what it was, so that's when the studying and putting all the pieces together of what I do now, and that was 16 years ago. So.
Yeah, because it's fascinating. Like we've discussed earlier before the camera, like breathing is involuntarily what we do, but we neglect that. And then I just realized now that there are other ways and means for you to breathe, because me being asthmatic as a kid, I've always been told like you're apical breather. What does that mean? So you're breathing from your shoulders and traps, so you're not really using your diaphragm. So over time you study literatures. But the question now is, what made you focus on that medium? How did you enhance that skill? Because, like you said, you didn't know it earlier. What was that experience? So, what are the channels? Exactly.
So the first thing was personal experience. So, and then what I did is I started to, literally, close the door and be by myself and start breathing in this pattern and rhythm, and to feel what was happening in my body. Because as I practiced, it wasn't just a physical thing, but whatever we do to the body, we do to the mind. And so my mind started to expand in a way that what came to me, and this was going back to as a child, I remember moments even telling my mom and dad, like I would score a goal or I would do something to where I honestly didn't remember that I did it. And I equate that now with like being in the zone, being like in the flow. Like you do some amazing things on the pitch, and you amaze yourself, How to
do that, yeah.
And so I realized that breathing this way, the more I went into it, was putting me in that space where like anything is possible, and it was easy. So then I started to study, and I looked in the East. So there's Eastern medicine, there's Kundalini, which is something where basically the life force, they say it's at the base of the spine, opens up, and as it moves through you, you just have a higher awareness. Yeah. So now that's not something that professional athletes talk about or deal with, but there's an importance to it as well. So there was that. There was I studied everything from yoga to from being injured from before. You have physical therapy and putting all the different and then I was in sales a little bit. So the science of not just performance, but science of success, and understanding the mindset skills and coaching and NLP and learning the body. And then Eastern medicine has all the meridian lines, and how the emotions move through the body. So it's got so many different pieces
so cool.
that come together. Yeah,
it's holistic, and come to think of it, breathing is something you don't think about. But what made you, or what's the, how can I verbalize it? Because you said earlier, the reason why I'm asking this now, I'm not trying to go into a tangent. You said that you did NLP and then Kundalini and then yoga. So what separates that from those practices, or what makes that special? So
a lot of, and we were talking earlier about like there's a golf tournament here, right? And all the golf players, they have their personal coach. Yeah. A lot of times the personal coach, what they're trained in and what they're doing is a lot of mind processes. Okay. Now the mind is great to an extent, but when the body disagrees with the mind, then you have a challenge. Now, and I know this from personal experience. When I was a professional, there were patterns that kept showing up. I didn't know it at the time because you look back and you figure it out. Yeah. But one, I'll tell you specifically, I got injured my senior year in high school, which is when you're ready to get scholarship and take that big leap, and then also senior year in college. So it's interesting, like you do so well and you prove yourself, but then right there at the edge, what's going on? What happens? And if we can share, you talked about the New Zealand rugby team.
Failing time under time. But as an athlete, like to get into that point, that edge, I mean, you've been in that situation. twice, and that's really unfortunate as well. But knowing as athletes, when they get to that point, what is it in you? Like, is there a specific thing that for you that happens? Is it pressure? Is it stress? Is it just bad breathing? Is it bad nutrition?
So for me, it was the unknown. It was the unconscious. So it was patterns from earlier childhood stuff that I never knew about until after I finished.
Yeah.
So I literally put together with proactive breath work and body work the science of understanding what those traumas might be. And now I'm not talking about the sport. I'm talking about like my father left when I was 1 year old, for example. I mean, totally. How does that show up later and impact the game and the performance?
You don't have that consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, at 1 year old, you don't remember. Yeah. You don't even the mind is not aware. But the thing is, let's say you're in a car accident, okay? And this is going to answer your question, which is, well, how is it different than mind processes? And so you can disconnect from the body. Yeah, if you're in a car wreck, you might go into something and you forget half of it. But the body was there, so the mind can check out of the body. It can go somewhere to stay safe. But the body, let's say on a cellular level, on a physical, tangible level, whatever's going on in the body, which really looks like this. Okay, so I'm scared, right? That's what it looks like. The body remembers that. So this is why a lot of times when you're using just mind processes to motivate, to get in the zone, to focus, if the body disagrees, you're going to have that split. So what I do, I use the breathing. The breathing is always in the body. But a lot of times it's not moving. Again, look at when you're scared,
you freeze up.
The body tightens up, the breathing's not moving.
So the fight-flight response doesn't agree with your nervous system. Yeah,
so nervous system, body, everything goes into that state. So the breathing and emotions, and when I say emotions, it means inner motion.
People shy away from that. We want. That's why we like talking things like this, because it's. Everybody stray away from, you start talking about childhood traumas, what your relationship was.
Nobody wants to go there. It's that never happened.
So how do you educate people, or should we say convince or make them understand that, look, if you don't deal or confront those past, you're never going to optimize your physical performance or your emotional well-being?
Well, the nice thing that I have as part of the modality, there's something called an assessment. Yeah, so I can look at either one of you, just how you're breathing, and just from what's called a breathing pattern, and everybody has a different breathing pattern, I can tell you how you see yourself, how you see the world, what's blocked and what needs to open up. So if we take that into, let's say, a professional athlete, they're doing what they've always taught, and they're probably very good physically, how to use their mind.
You become automatic,
Yeah, but there's resources, and every belief in philosophy says the answers are where? The answers are within, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I put together something called the science of emotions, which also is resources, that explains exactly where those resources are inside you, in the body. So when they're locked, you can't access them. Now, when you get on the pitch, or you're performing, or just in the gym, if that's locked, you're going to have tension, you're going to have blockages, you're going to have pain, and you're not going to have the flexibility, and the performance is going to go way down, especially in certain moments. So first there's the assessment with what I do, and that's just observing what's called a breathing pattern, giving you feedback on what it means. From there, we have like a blueprint. We understand what the challenge is, we understand where we're going. Then we use the breathing as a way of going inside the body and the areas that are holding on, that are tight, that are blocked, what's in there, maybe a trauma, an experience. It literally goes in and massages that from the inside out. And that's another difference. Massage is from the outside in. There's only so much you can get to.
Totally.
Yeah. But you add both and you get the breathing moving, now you open up the whole mind. You open up the whole heart. You add emotions to the game. And we know the best performers, there's so much passion.
Yeah.
It's not just mind and body, but it's like, boom. So when you put all those together and get them to disagree, then you have a force.
Is that why we see some high performance athletes or artists that they get their peak state and then all of a sudden you can't understand why they had that downfall or they choke in the middle of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I would. That's the ones I want to sit and talk with.
Call me.
Because that right there, it's a pattern.
Yeah,
yeah, and it'll show up in the breathing and the psychology, and with what I put together, I can look at that, kind of decipher it, and move through it very quickly. So it's
Let's go into obviously this topic here. Guys, we're going to do more topics as well, by the way. This is just the first one. So this one is based on breathing for a game day mindset.
Yeah.
So first, I suppose the first question is how do you use breathing to get into a game day mindset?
Okay, so I'm going to divide it into two parts, which is sessions and practices.
Cool.
So sessions are like an hour long. So that's like, let's say, preseason or Monday, Tuesday if you got a weekend game. But I think what you're asking is like before the game, how do you use breathing quickly? Yeah. Now part of it depends on the assessment of the body, but I'm going to give you like general ways. So what I would say is there's two things you want with the breathing, which is also what you want with the mind. You want to charge the cells, okay, and then you want rhythm and expansion.
Okay,
because that's what you want in the mind. Yep. Okay. Now the challenge is when we go into focus, we contract. So you need to open it up first, and then be able to get all that aligned.
Yeah.
So a quick one is just take 20 big inhales, but you have to make sure it's all the way down and all the way up. So for example, if we do an assessment, a lot of people only breathe down or only breathe up.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what that means is if you're only breathing down. Okay, you got maybe your power, your physical ability and agility, but you forgot the passion. You forgot the connection and the connection to yourself.
Yeah.
The opposite, let's say you're all heart and you're breathing up and you're let's say a lover and you like to connect and you're there, but you're not breathing real deep, you've lost your power. Okay, so you're not grounded and centered. Yeah? So you need both.
Yeah, totally.
And so the simple practice, I would say starting with 20 big inhales. So it'd be, and the best way is put the right hand on the lower belly, left hand up, and take 20 big inhales as big as you can, something like this. So. Okay, all the way up to 20.
Awesome.
So what that does, it opens everything up, and then you, on the last one, you take a big inhale and hold it and hum. So what that does, and I'll show you, we'll do 3 big inhales, and then on the last one, I'll show you what that looks like. You hum and close the eyes because you focus everything inside. Now, the game doesn't matter at this point, everything inside. So you connect with yourself, you see your vision, and in that space, you might do some visualization or start to feel what's possible. So I'll do 3, and then the long hum. Okay? So right hand down, left hand up. And on the last one, and automatically after that, you can see my breathing starts to move. Okay, so you've got what we call momentum. You've got momentum. So that's perfect before the game.
Yeah.
Because you open everything up. The sound literally creates like a vibration in the body, and it connects your heart, your mind, your body. And in that space, you can sit there for a few minutes as well. So it puts you in that zone mindset.
I feel inspired already when I just watched you do it. I was like, wow.
So the effect is immediate, right?
Yes.
Especially for athletes.
Did you feel anything?
Yeah,
no.
I
was like, whoa.
As I'm saying, breathing is something that we don't think about,
Yes.
But if you put focus on it, it makes sense to me now when you're angry or whatever emotional state you're in, just breathe. But we just, intellectualize that.
Yeah.
But if you put it into heart, what you're saying is that if you're passionate, but you don't have the connection to your physical body, it's not going to work. And this is what Dr. Joe Dispenza was saying. Like,
absolutely,
even though you're a high performance athlete, you're going to reach your peak. There's nowhere else to go but to go down. And you stop performing, but you're not realigning your brain. So that means that at some point, your body and your brain has to come into alignment.
Yes.
But only to find out now that there's more into how you connect that too. We know the theory, we know the method, but to get there is the process. It's really fascinating.
And this also, if you look at the inhale and the exhale, if you look at the inhale and exhale coming together in that flow and that rhythm, you're also aligning and balancing the right and left hemisphere of the brain. So you've got your focus, but a more expanded soft focus rather than the, because then you can only see one thing. And then you activate the right side, which is the creativity and the openness. Now, players like Messi that do amazing things that you just like, how did he just do that? That's activating the right side of the brain. So, yeah.
Okay, so do this to an assessment. You want to do a quick assessment?
Let's do that. Who's ready?
I like it.
Okay.
Start with me then.
Okay. So maybe sit back a little bit, and what you're going to do is just breathe the way you always do. Okay. Yeah. Now there's many different breathing practices. I don't want to see that, but I want to see what's going on when you're not thinking about it. Okay.
So try not to think about it while I do it.
Yeah.
You told me about it.
It's a challenge, right? It's a challenge.
This is good stuff, people. Pay attention. This is good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, let's put that on the camera there and see.
I try not to think about breathing.
Okay, so just breathe the way you always do. Yeah. And now focus on breathing just with the mouth. See what? Okay. And the first question is, what do you feel? What do you notice? Can you feel your inhale? Where is it moving?
Well, when you told me about the breath, I could feel my lungs. Like
yeah.
My mind was like, I can feel my lungs expanding.
Right.
And closing. Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about my mouth. So.
Right. Okay. So what we can see for you can probably feel this, but your energy goes up.
Yes.
Okay. So it expands upward and outward. Mm-hmm. All right. So what that means is you like freedom. Okay. You're in touch with your emotions. You like to connect with people. You're social. Now, that's why we're doing this, right? It makes sense.
You guys, sorry.
Now the challenge in life, and then we'll get to sports performance. The challenge is in life, you're not breathing real deep. Yeah. Okay, so physically, let's say as we get older, you're going to have lower back pain, tight hamstrings, lower flexibility.
I've got a hamstring problem right now.
There you go.
That's pretty accurate.
There you go. Okay. And a lot of that is just physical, but it's about getting the oxygen there. Okay, and then we'll talk about what those are. I'll find out which hamstring it is because they're different. So, what is this going to do to take away from your functionality and performance? First of all, you might get taken advantage of. Okay, because you come at people with your heart. You're open. You want to connect. You're emotional. Yeah. Now, especially let's say in relationships, you'll attract the opposite. So you might find somebody that's a little more like disconnected from the emotions, but they're grounded, they're centered, they're a little more like powerhouse, like get out of my way. Okay, so that's attractive to you because those resources you've pushed away a little bit. Okay, so in that sense, both in business and let's say closer relationships, either there's love or money, those are the big ones, you might lose your grounding. Yeah, because your emotions will take over. You're trying to connect and do things from the heart, but someone else is more, money or power.
Probably agree with this one.
Okay. 100%. So, and I'll give you a visual. Let's say you stand with your feet together. Okay, I can push you over, right? Yeah. So that's not grounded, and that's what happens when we're not breathing deep in the belly. Okay, if you're grounded, which is like you maybe feet shoulder width apart, like there and completely in your body. Okay, then I push you and you're just like, no problem, I can take this. Yeah, you just take it and you go with the flow. So also, when we're not breathing deep, what else is there is the hips. So what do we do with the hips? We dance, okay, flow in life. So you might find that you put pressure on yourself to do things, but then sometimes it's a challenge to enjoy the flow. Yeah? Yeah, and then the one more thing is being completely in the body is about presence. Yep. So you might find that you're excited, you want to talk and connect and listen, but there's a resistance or a challenge sometimes. Somebody will say something, and literally your mind will go in the clouds, and then you'll come back, and you're like, what'd they just say? It's like, yeah.
Bang on.
Okay? Oh, yeah. So now let's say we're going to work and you're performing. Okay, and you played rugby and many different things. Yeah. What we would do is bring more of that force into the body. I think you shared with me before you love sports, but at the same time you said maybe one of the reasons you didn't go pro is because you couldn't make up your mind. Mm-hmm. You liked so many different sports, which is fine.
Moving, yeah.
It's great, but that's also the heart. Yeah, the heart is the feminine, which is like go with the flow, try something out. Oh, what's over here? Oh, let me try that. Oh, let's try over here. So breathing deeper for you would get you more grounded and centered. It would also get you in your power where you're clear with making decisions. You're like, what needs to make, A, B makes sense. Boom, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Sorry to interrupt. So
what
you're trying to say he can easily be distracted, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but the reason why is because these are all accurate. I've known Grant for 8 years. No. I'm agreeing because you practically explained who he is, his life, in that last 6 minutes.
Totally.
How do you know that? Like, can you tell, like the way I breathe, if somebody's anxious? How do you classify that with this way of breathing? That you're this kind of person.
So
most people, they look at that, you're being judgmental. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not, but I'm really amazed. It's accurate.
And now it's a science because I put so many different things together, and by working through thousands of sessions, and I've been in 5 out of 7 continents on the globe sharing this. You start to see the patterns in humans, whether they're athletes or not. And when you put the patterns together, then it's easy to see. So it's it takes time, but it's pretty precise.
Can you share with me how to breathe deeper? Because it's really interesting, and you've hooked me, mate, straight away.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is like I looked, and I've been not just months but years of how to consistently be more grounded. I'll go through periods. Yeah. But then I'll end up going back to this inconsistency and
And life's not linear, right? But so my next question, I'm sure you want to ask this as well. How do you, I'm not saying there's something wrong with you. If that's your personality, that's your personality. I've learned that in many ways that you can't really judge people because we judge it, you're just judging yourself.
It's just resources.
So what do you, for example, the back pains and the hamstring, it is physical, it is mechanical, but how do you fix that with that assessment
Okay, so one thing is get more oxygen there, right? Because a tight muscle is not getting oxygen because it's not receiving the blood flow and everything. So the quick exercise I showed you, I would give you, so I would up it. I would say 30, okay? 30 big inhales and relax the exhale. On the last one, there's 2 different movements that's going to bring the energy low. And the simple one is just movement. You need a lot more movement in the legs. So I'll give you, let's say, 3 big inhales, except it's going to be 30. So, and then on the last one, as you hum, you need to activate that part of the body. Okay, so for you, it would be, and just moving in and out your legs as fast as you can. So what that does, it exhausts the area. Okay, it's like a cardio workout, but the muscles, anytime you activate and use a muscle, it's going to let go of carbon dioxide. And that tells the body and the brain, you need to get oxygen there because you need to get that carbon dioxide and the toxins out. So it activates that system, and immediately what you'll feel as you sit after the 30 inhales, the breathing will just slowly start to open up, and you'll be breathing deeper in the belly. So that's a quick fix, but then the other one is a full session, which is an hour. That has body work. So I would be there like literally, shifting the hips side to side, working on the back of the hamstring, getting in that muscle, bringing the oxygen there, and guiding you on what's it about. And if you want to go there, we can.
I want to go to the next part of the magic trick and go into which hamstring it is.
Okay. So which one is it? And then I'll tell you what's going on there. Because
I thought you were going to guess, or you're going to figure it out.
I can't tell from here, from sitting like that, but I can tell you what it means, and then we'll play with that. So.
Okay, so it's my right hamstring.
Okay, makes sense. So, and I could have guessed that, I guess. But
explain that.
Okay, so if you look at the body, that's where we divide. So we're all together here, and then the legs split. So what that's about is our masculine and feminine side. Now, this is regardless of gender. You could be man or woman, whatever. And you could be more masculine or more feminine. Doesn't matter. Right side is masculine, okay? And the left side is the feminine. What that means is your resources of everything that's masculine. Okay, now what is that? You think of a soldier, okay? Being able to stand strong and move forward and be like, oh! And another visual is your... the New Zealand pregame, okay, I love that thing. Okay,
global.
So that right there is all just masculine, animalistic, like power. Okay. Now, if your right hamstring is giving you challenges, that means that resource it's a challenge for you. And we already said you're more of a lover. Okay. So what happens is, in many cases, we have the warrior and the lover. You put your lover in front of the warrior.
I don't think I'm going to agree with that one.
So that it's great for relaxing and enjoying the day. It's great for making love. For performing, you need to up your warrior. Okay, so the hamstrings, because it's the back of the leg, it's the unseen, the unknown. So what that's about is challenges with masculine energy. Yeah, so that could go back to father, could go back to anything.
Well, I didn't have a father figure after 12. I didn't have a father figure after
there you
12.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, right?
It makes sense.
And even before the age of 12 was, again, probably it was disjointed. We spent most of the time with our mother. And I now, being older, I recognize that I've actually got my mother's traits, like some of her, the way she speaks, or the way her mannerisms, or her characteristics. I'm like, you don't see this thing happening, but I actually realized this over the last year as well.
Okay.
But totally.
It's perfect timing. This is totally. more to the insight.
Yeah, awesome. Okay? Yeah.
So what that means is the on the back of the hamstring, that specific area. What it means is there's a deep craving and a fear at the same time. Now, what that means is there's this craving inside of you that you want to be like stronger and be like and you want to connect more with masculine energy, whether it's friends or whatever. You love that, but at the same time you fear it. So when you have a craving and a fear, you've got you got two energies that don't agree.
Yeah, totally.
And that's when the body's going to start to misalign. And
So
the way I see it,
you end up protecting it, right? So it becomes suppression.
Yes, and protection. If you think of what is protection, usually it's that fear state.
You're tense.
Yeah, somebody activates you and calls you a name, you're going to go, But it's not coming from power, really. It's coming from fear.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. So when we're performing as an athlete, we want to come from a place of power and strength, not of can I do it? I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to push through. You need all of your resources to move.
Yeah.
Through. So
it's got like going through it now, and I can be. I don't mind anything. I'm pretty open with stuff that, like when I was training and competing, there was obviously, and I think you agree with this too. Nothing was going to stop me from doing well.
Yeah.
No matter what it was,
so you had the passion. But it was like mindset.
It was like, I'm doing this whether you freaking like it or not.
Yeah.
And
on that note, when that stopped, I did ask you what happened.
Yeah.
Because he was literally, because I told you I've known this guy for 8 years and I know what he's capable of, and you've summarized that in 6 minutes.
Okay.
Probably 6 seconds.
It's freaking awesome.
But totally. But the whole thing was that, again, I suppose going back to, I haven't really trained properly in the last 3 years. I kind of got to, and I remember that I can think of a trigger that was like I'm watching these young fellas come through. So, I thought like, well, I'm a bit older, probably won't be able to compete with them, and I have to do commentary instead. Going from a player to commentator kind of direction is going.
It's a good transition.
Right. But then my training basically stopped as well. And that's where I feel like I'm in a position now, whereas if you'd asked me 3 years ago, completely different. So it's, but on a original note, is it common to happen like that, or do you see it happening with a lot of sports people that after they've retired, or have you noticed that they've retired and they've just lost their way completely, or that
they gain weight? Or
it would be gain weight, whether it's depression, whether it be just anxiety, whether it be lost in the world or where their place is, or have you noticed that with professional athletes after point they've had to retire or they have to stop?
Well, in my sport, football, you can see the body changes a lot. You look at Ronaldo and Diego Maradona. I mean, they got big really quick.
Yeah, totally.
But I think part of it is just being in that environment, because when you're training all the time, you're staying fit, and you got people telling you what to do, and you're in the game mindset and
so
everything. Life changes. I think that's part of it. It is. And then life choices. So I think it's hard to make a generalization like that. But again, if I could sit with each one of those and observe their breathing, then I can tell you what's going on with them. Yeah.
Super.
But I have a question. how long is this? Is this a nagging injury or is it new, the hamstring? Or
actually, it's fairly new. Like probably 2 weeks ago, I fell a niggle.
Okay.
We just did some light jogging, stuff like that, and then I played touch rugby on Tuesday.
Okay.
60 seconds into the game, I was like, oh.
Bro, you pulled your back last year in the office.
Oh, I did pull in the office.
Yeah. Jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
That happened. I don't remember that one, but yeah.
I told you I know this dude. Yeah. You did.
It's a lot of work in the office.
Yeah.
It's challenging as we get older.
You
Yeah.
gotta stay there. He's like, I want to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love kite surfing. It's another big thing I like to do.
Nice.
But definitely since probably 4 years ago, I had a back injury and then just deadlift from that, and then it's kind of hasn't really recovered very well.
Okay.
For
So
whatever reasons.
you can see how they're related because we talked about not breathing low is going to tighten up the lower back and possibly lower back pain. So, and then a string, when one area tightens up, all the muscles like a rope that are connected to it are going to have an effect. So the hamstring is probably related to the lower back, which again is being grounded and centered and being completely in the body, totally a masculine attribute, and then it affects the right sides.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do it. Yeah, it's interesting. I really want to learn some more. I mean, my personal question is, I'm sure people want to ask you how, because I've never heard of you before. No offense, but what you just said is by far the most interesting topic that we've discussed. You know, it unlocks the mind again. It disrupts you, and again, quoting Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
When your brain learns something, you kind of change and reopen that neuroplasticity, right?
Exactly.
But a lot of people fear change, you know?
Yeah.
My question now is, how can we get hold of your material? How can we practice that? How can we learn? Because I want to practice it, you know? I want to help my clients.
Yes.
Like, I don't have further answer to same thing, my lower back, we've done everything mechanically, physically, physio, dry needling, it's still there.
Yeah.
You know? Now you've unlocked another avenue of how can I improve my body, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to improve.
So what I do, I have a school that teaches exactly these processes and components.
So
Everything.
you're not alone.
No, I have.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've
So you
been
got
growing in the
yeah.
region the last 10 years because I moved to Turkey 10 years ago. So we're in Bahrain, now Saudi, here, Oman, Jordan, everywhere, as well as where I was before, Mexico and America. So the website is there. I've got an event coming up actually the next 2 days, and that's the basics of the breath
Here in Dubai.
here in Dubai, yeah, in Dubai Investments Park area. And that's a 2-day module, which gives you both an amazing experience, first of all.
This weekend, yeah?
This weekend, yeah. It gives you an amazing experience, but then also it gives you the tools to begin to, be able to look at breathing and question. And I love it for fun. Like me and my wife go to dinner, and we'll be having dinner, but we want to play a game. So we'll look at the couple at the next table, and we can see why they're together, which is kind of cool.
You've got an acute eye now, right? Like us being personal trainer, always techniques shit, but nobody knows it, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, yeah.
Not what you've done thing.
Yeah.
We're actually near the end of the show for this one, but
No way.
It's flowing. It's
part
flowing.
two
Jesus.
coming on. So let's just kind of go back and kind of look at summarizing breathing for a game day mindset.
Yeah.
You gave a couple of tips, or a very good one tip for people to use. What is anything else besides what we're probably going to talk about in a later video of what the people can do or how they can look at it perception wise? Or
I can go more specific and give you like branches of that, because then you add the body. Okay, so even before a game, there's something called the PAP, the post-activation potential, which is quickly using, and they're using this now as trainers with athletes before the games. It's activating certain muscles to get them prepared at the highest level. So you can add some of these breathing practices, but focus on a particular muscle along with some other, saying a particular word or whatever you need. To program and condition and get in that mind state to do it. Now, an example, for example, you have tight hamstrings. So I would do, your muscle needs to discharge before it goes into action. Usually we charge the body to have the energy to go into, but I would recommend a combination of charging and discharging. So for you, for example, and let's say if we've all been in the gym, you have the barbells, and then you would need probably one of the blocks or something to stand on.
Okay, yeah.
So the box. So for you, you would jump up on the box and hold barbells, and then bend over and first find out how far you can stretch. Okay? Now you have a baseline there, a threshold, which is normal. Now you add that breathing into it, and this is what will happen. Literally, your hands are here, and you start breathing, and this is different than an active stretch. Deep breathing. So it moves that quick. That muscle opens up so quickly, naturally, and it's getting supercharged and all the oxygen. So the same thing happens to the mind.
Yeah.
So it's a quick way. Now you can do this right before the game or just as part of your workout. That's another way to get in that mindset, and it opens everything up. Now, let's say in general, even professional athletes, usually when they're doing stretching, they'll do their pregame warm up and then they'll go into to a stretch. They never use breathing in it. They never add the breathing. But when you add the breathing and then surrender into it, which is and that's the difference between this stretch with just letting the gravity pull you. It's not like yoga; you're active in it. It's passive. Then and add the breathing, it just opens up everything very quickly. Then you're ready to perform. So, I mean, if you were performing like this, let's say it's bothering you, you come to the side, I would say do that, takes 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you're right back in. So it opens everything up real quick, you get back in your zone, and then boom. And one more example, I played football. A big one is, let's say you're the end of the game, you're tired, you went into overtime, and now it's penalty shootout. Okay, that's a big one. It's like you got one shot. One shot, and you've seen in the World Cup some of the biggest name, Roberto Baggio, missed his, kicked it over the bar. How do you use breathing and mindset? Boom, I'm in it. Okay, now unstoppable. Boom, goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are some other examples of how to play with it.
This is too cool.
Fascinating.
Guys, unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of today's show. But if you have any comments, questions, please share. We're going to put JD's website, which is newmestrategies.com. That'll be in the description down below. And you'll be able to obviously follow his social media links as well, which are, I believe, New Me Strategies handle.
JDThomas.life.
There you go, JDThomas.life. Do follow that as well and ask questions. But definitely look out for part 2 that will be released over the next few weeks because as you can see, the man's got a lot to share and we definitely hear like listen, absorb it like a sponge.
You gotta absorb all this information, yeah.
And it wasn't like a voodoo trick. It was absolutely real. It was like 100%. So guys, thank you very much for taking your time out to join us today. Leave your comments and questions. And remember, the Find Fit People app is now available for downloading and finding new professionals, new events, and new courses happening daily. Till next time, guys, take care. We'll see you then.
Awesome.
Sweet, man. Wow. So
we've all been there, hours searching the internet, asking friend upon friend, making call after call, trying to find the right fitness professional, health specialist, or sports coach. So much time, energy, and even money spent only to find more problems than solutions. Well, now, with the Find Fit People platform, you can find all the available professionals with the skills you need in an instant. We've removed all the barriers by establishing a community of many different skilled health specialists, sports coaches, and fitness professionals that are alerted immediately once you've posted your request. In under 30 seconds, you can attract multiple professionals with the right skills to help you achieve the result you want. It's simple, fast, and free. Find us online at www.findfitpeople.com or download the Find Fit People app from Apple or Google Play stores so you can find fit people today.